there everyone! Welcome back to another Minecraft video. My name is Shells, and today we're going to be visiting the Bakery server. So for those of you who don't know who the Bakers are, they are a group of incredibly talented Minecraft builders. Like, seriously, the things they make are pure works of art. And something I wasn't aware of until someone commented on one of my videos is that the Bakers made this public server where anyone can get on, claim a plot of land, and build whatever they'd like. They provide advantages such as access to a plethora of building tools like WorldEdit, VoxelSniper, GoBrush, MetaBrushes, Arceon, and more. Now, I'll be honest that I have no idea what half of those things are, but that's another advantage, is that you can ask people for help while on here, including help from some of the bakers, since there's usually at least one of them on the server at any given time. The server is also available for both Java as well as Bedrock, so for all of you Bedrock users who have never touched WorldEdit before, this is a great place to go to try it out. So I thought I'd check the place out and give it a little bit of a build and use the opportunity to try some of the building tools I've never touched before and see what else I can do with it. So without further ado, I am going to go click on this guy and he'll send me to the creative world plots. Now it takes us to this amazing build here. Look at this water and the lily pads and just... oh my goodness. I went ahead and explored this build specifically quite extensively because yeah, amazingness. So when I was going exploring before, I couldn't really figure out where I was supposed to go to build. Asking online, it seems that any of these builds that have a black border around the edges are taken, and any of the ones that have white borders are not taken, and I was unable to locate any that had a white border. But there is like a command that I think you can insert that lets you just basically auto-claim a plot. It'll give you a plot, but first you have to pick what size of plot you want. So I think I want the biggest plot they have available. You can have 2 of these, unless you pay them monies. And so this is, apparently this was already the 501 plot world. So you can see, this is a big square. It's quite the size. So I don't think I'm going to have any problems fitting any of my builds in this, honestly. Plot auto. Boop! You have successfully claimed the plot 816. You have been teleported. Oh, I can fly. Okay. So this is now owned by me. We can go ahead and start coming up with some color schemes and ideas. Well, seems as though the 1.20 blocks are not working. Oh well, I didn't need that anyway. So here you can see I've been trying to mess with some gradients that I might want to work with. If you were watching the beginning of my stream that I made for the Moon Cathedral, you can tell that I kind of stole some of the same blocks from the gradient I was planning on using there. But I think this will elicit, I don't know, it's almost like a white sand beach sort of effect that I'm wanting to go here. And I'll go ahead and tell you why in just a second. But so we have going from sandstone to a nice white, going through the mosaic-y looking blocks here, and then down into the dark deep blues, and then all the way down to skulk. So I think that's a decent enough color scheme, and I'll probably expand upon it as I build, of course. Something I appreciate about this color scheme is that I have 2 solid blocks I could build with stairs and slabs and such, being quartz, and we have the sandstone. So now you're probably wondering, Shells, what are you planning on building? Well, I'm afraid it's not the most original idea, but what I want to build is actually the Temple of Poseidon and Cleito from Atlantis. So to give you a little bit of a background on Atlantis, I know you've all heard about how it was a great city that angered the gods somehow and sank under the ocean. But there's a bit more to the story than that. So pretty much anything and everything we know about Atlantis comes from Plato, who used the city in an allegory to compare their politics to Athens. But he does describe the city in a surprising amount of detail, including some of the mythology behind it. According to Plato, when the earth was divided amongst all of the gods, the island of Atlantis was given to Poseidon, the god of the ocean. And there he found a mortal woman named Cleito. Cleito? One of those. Anyway, Poseidon fell instantly in love with her and, in Greek god fashion, immediately claimed her as his own. So then, to protect her, he completely changed the landscape around about so that there were 3 gigantic rings of water surrounding her. He then brought forth 2 springs of water at the very center, one for cold water and one for hot water, and built a temple around them. Plato goes on to describe in strangely intricate detail what the temple at the center looks like. So that's what I'm primarily going to use to make this build with you today. However, I'm only going to roughly follow his descriptions, so don't think it will be an exact replica or anything. For one thing, he describes the place as being covered in orichalcum, and I have no idea what that looks like. Apparently it's supposed to be a reddish gold color, but screw that color scheme, I'm going for ocean colors. There's maybe a little bit of an irony in the fact that the god of water ended up having his city be known for the city that sank under the ocean. Go figure. Hang on a second. These aren't supposed to live forever. Look at this. Apparently, you don't need to have coral surrounded by water in this one in order to keep it alive. Huh, good to know. That makes building with it just a little bit easier. Nice. I think I started building too big. I think I overestimated the size I had to work with, and I'm just thinking in my head, oh, I want one of these big octagons. I'm going to do a big octagon in the middle, an octagon off to the side, octagon off there, over there. And I don't have enough room for this giant octagon, and I should shrink it just a little bit, I think. Oops. Alright, this is a little bit more of a reasonable scale. I can pretty comfortably fit more octagons along the outsides of these. I think my main worry is that if I shrink-a-dink this too small, I won't be able to put any details into any of the statues on the interior, but that's always the problem that you face when building any sort of statues in Minecraft. So, we'll do the best that we can here. Well, so I've got my basic outline down and done. I gotta say, I may be being a little bit overambitious with this one, not gonna lie. So let me talk through at least some of my thought processes for what I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting there to be a main entrance hall, and this is also going to be the main hall, which has the big statue of Poseidon. And then I want to be able to connect over to these rooms on either side. And then I want there to be on either side almost like bathhouses. And these, so on the left I'm going to have a cold spring, and on the right I'm going to have the hot springs. Actually, you know, hot water, you look at a sink. The hot water is usually on the left, so maybe I'll have the left be hot water and the right cold, because that makes more sense to me. And then in the very back, something that isn't specified in Plato's writing, but something that I thought would tie together the whole temple. This is supposed to be the temple of Poseidon and Cleito. Now, this poor mortal woman who had to bear 10 children to this god, you have to give credit to her. So I wanted to have a room dedicated to Cleito. I'm not entirely sure what sort of sculpture I want to do in here, but I want this in the very back of the temple as more of the secluded, protected area. I kind of want to emphasize that this is a love story between Poseidon and Cleito. Something else I plan on doing here is I actually want to incorporate some of my grand spiral staircases into them. I'm kind of thinking of like spiral staircases wrapping around these awesome looking statues and stuff. And so I kind of want to put a second floor on top of these aisleways here. Just to be able to give you something to walk on over the top, and then you have like a viewing platform that's higher up. So that way we're not just on a static, a single floor for this temple. I'm also kind of thinking of having you have to walk down some steps here to make it down into the actual the courtyard in the center. Again, just to add stairs, we'll add some depth, so that way we're not just all on one big flat floor. Otherwise, I think that pretty well sums up my plans for this temple, as much as what I've said anyway. There's going to be a lot of guess and check work here, so I guess I'll just go ahead and get started building and see what comes out of it. So doing some calculations here, I think this is going to be my best arrangement. I started with this square and basically increased it by 1 so that way I could be sure that there were exactly 9 blocks in between these pillars. I think that will be beneficial, but it is going to alter the entire shape of this thing. As you can see, it's already squishing in over there. It's going to change the shape of all of my octagons and basically move everything over by a little bit. But overall, I think it will be worth it to make those aisles a little bit more even. Yeah, much better. That was only slightly annoying. Now we can start building. Now, I was kind of hoping to replicate like the swirly scroll shape of the Ionic Greek columns. I think I wanted to at least keep something Greek looking in here just because the origins of Atlantis is Greek in nature. But I'm having a hard time getting this to look right on this diagonal without being just ginormous and fat. Like it's covering a great deal of the distance between the two as it is with that. Unfortunately, I don't know that I can really avoid that. It is looking almost more Corinthian in nature if I get rid of the weird wobbly things on the side, so I might just stick with that. I'm not sure I like how fat those are. Huh. Well, there's something else that's possible on this server that isn't possible like anywhere else. For those of you wondering how I replicated that, normally you have either 2 choices for the stairs, but it's making that corner block, like that one, but then you destroy these 2 and it stays. Huh. Interesting. It's not as swirly as I would like, but I was able to sneak in some end rods in the corners here, and I don't think it looks too bad. I think it looks interesting, which is part of the goal here. So I might stick with that and, yeah, just build the arches on top of that. And now for the very important question that I've been kind of avoiding and waffling between since I started planning this, is do I go Gothic or do I go Romanesque? Gothic is prettier, and for this theoretical place that supposedly had advanced technology, I could go Gothic. I kind of view Atlantis as being more of a fantasy theme than historical accuracy, but every depiction I see of Atlantis is either using Greek architecture or using Romanesque architecture. I guess that's why I've been waffling between it here. Pretty much, as far as I can tell, looking at pictures of Atlantis, most seem to agree that it's probably going to be on the Romanesque side of things. You just didn't have Gothic era stuff in that time, and it wouldn't make sense for there to be Gothic architecture here, let's be honest. But it just... my beautiful, beautiful Gothic architecture details. Can you imagine this just being boring barrel vault between here? I mean, I can, but it would be boring. So I think I might try to make it more Gothic and make it with ribbed vaults and stuff like that. That's not too bad. It's kind of pretty. Now, I have another type of pillar I want to design here. I almost wanted to keep these in almost like piers for the Romanesque architecture. And just that way there's a little bit more variance in pillars. So a nice thick boy up here. But I still want it to have more design than just your traditional Romanesque pier. So I might mess around with it until I get it. I also need the springer to come to exactly the same point. So we're going to have this same clinch point on there, and yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I think one of the hardest parts to building these vaults diagonally is trying to use WorldEdit, because WorldEdit can't align things on a diagonal. It has to be on straight lines. So in order to copy this thing, I have to find this point over here, and then find a point somewhere over here that then encompasses the entirety of my vault here. It's a little bit tricky, but yeah. Please tell me I got the whole thing. Please tell me I got the whole thing. Please, oh please. Yeah, we did it. Haha. Take that. There are so many cool shapes you can get with these corner block things. Anyway, here's my design. Oop, I missed some. Boink, boink. There we go. There's my design. It's a little bit urn-y, but it'll do. I think it's fine. Flip won't work, so maybe if we do a rotate 180. Paste minus error. Please don't die. Yay. Alright, so I was messing around here and I ended up adding more chonky boy pillars than I previously had. I guess my idea is that we're going to have the stairs coming down from here. And this is more of a placeholder because there's actually going to be stairs in the way here. There isn't going to be a vault over this diagonal section. Is kind of what I decided. I think I want the stairs to come down and just kind of do a little bit of a spiral staircase. Just a little bit. Just a curve come down here. And it might even end up curving and coming down here. I'm not sure how long this spiral staircase is going to be just yet. Something else I should probably think about. I think I was kind of mentally orienting this way to be my front entrance, but I am leading straight into a wall here. I don't know if this person is going to remove that wall or not, but perhaps it might be a better idea to plan for the front entrance to be over here for right now. It's coming together! There we go. 2 floors of vaults. I think that looks pretty good. You get a full gradient from the dark skulk all the way up to the brightest colors of blue here. It's kind of interesting, the mosaic look it gives you on the upper vault. I'm not sure if I like that or not yet, but it does almost look like reflections of water up top, so I do kind of like it. I might leave it. It might get changed later, I'm not sure, but for now, I think it looks alright. Now the tricky part here is going to be taking this and copying it over to this, which is super easy to do when it's, you know, straight, but when we're on a diagonal like this, it's going to be a little bit tricky. I have the entire thing selected, so I just stand in my center block here, and we're going to see if this works. It might not, but we turn to face this way, and we're going to say flip, and then turn this way and flip again, and we paste -A and see if it worked. Did that work? Oh, it worked. Yes. The other problem with doing a Gothic architecture build for the top portion is that I would really want to have the multiple stories. So a roof going along here, and then more windows, and then the fan vault. And the problem with that is with 2 stories here, we already have a very tall build. It kind of looks like it needs to go straight into the fan vault from here, which would mean cutting out the upper windows entirely, which is an option. I could do that and just have a single roof line over the top of this entire structure here. But it would make it so that way the outside is a little bit more boring to look at. You'd just basically have a giant flat wall with a roof, though I am planning on also having some flying buttresses along the outside here. I suppose something else I could do if I'm really wanting to put like a lower level of roofing, is to actually create another aisleway that reaches from there to there. Alright, here goes nothing. This is just to see what it would look like. I mean, from this standpoint, it's not bad. My worry then is that I would start to encroach upon this side over here. If I were to do that, it would make this inner courtyard be significantly smaller. Something I could do is just do it for one side, because it's only for a roof line. How would I feel about that? Let me remove this upper floor and see how I feel about it. Removing the upper floor is going to be a bit of a challenge with the not touching that aspect. Hang on just a second. Let me undo this to completely remove it, and maybe I'll post it maybe I'll paste it in an arbitrary location somewhere over here, so that way I can clear the second floor without worrying about running into something. So here's what it looks like with just the lower levels put in. That was kind of nice to be able to do that. This is, of course, viewed from the front entrance. You'll see it looking this way. It actually doesn't look that bad. It does give it a little bit more girth to it. You, of course, won't see the outside shell of that, and that's something that I have to then figure out, is how do I connect this with everything else, especially considering I was hoping to put in a stairwell that came here and then curved down and around here. It's a little bit tricky. I think this is going to add a lot more work for me, just to unbalance the build a little bit. You also get some really, really dark spots in here. Spots that I don't think I can sneak in any sort of lighting very easily. Yeah, I'm not sure how to go about fixing that other than, I don't know, adding more end rods in places. Like, I'm sure I could sneak some up here and nobody would bat an eye at it. One of the other issues with this design is that I was kind of hoping to have floor-to-ceiling length windows in here. And with this particular build, I would have to have a roof line which then means that even if I was going for a particularly flat looking roof, I would still have to cut off a good chunk of the window there. So I'm not sure that I want to do that. That is really cool seeing this though. So, is it worth having this bit? Or is it worth having floor-to-ceiling windows? Yeah, I think I've determined that I'm going to go ahead and keep this, though what I might end up doing is removing these sections here. I think I had the idea of having an aisleway on the sides here, but I am going to be putting the staircase there, so I think just to open up the space a little bit more, emphasize the actual octagon, I think I'm just going to remove this pillar that I stuffed on the end here. There we go. Now you can kind of see more of the octagon shape starting to come about a little bit more. I think I do like having the aisle too wide there, so I'm going to keep that. I do worry that at this point now this octagon is almost too big, which honestly I need this room to be huge because this is where I'm going to be putting in my giant sculptures and stuff. The two rooms on either side, my little bathhouses basically, are going to be a lot smaller. I'm going to make them with the full aisleway and stuff, and it'll look a lot more crowded for that, and it'll make the rooms look different. So I'm not opposed to that, but this front room I think needs to just be way more open, so I think this will work. I kind of put in some of these pillars where I want some of the larger pillars. You can see I was planning on putting large pillars there and there as well, to then line up with that. But I think for the sake of connecting this aisleway better and, you know, adding a staircase here, we're just not going to bother. The staircase itself is going to shrink that space just a little bit more as is, and I'm not sure I want to have giant pillars going up to the ceiling from the staircase. I could very well change my mind in the future, but we'll see. I just wanted to try it, see how I felt about it. I do think the diamond blocks works well in this same color palette, but that doesn't mean I should put it up there. Something I have to do for here now is I actually have to make a little triangular shaped piece here, which means I need to make an archway across here and then make sort of like a half arch with a rib coming from there, and basically mimic the same sort of look, but only in this little triangle. There we go. Got that section done, and now I can start working on the staircase leading down over there. I'm sorry, since I changed that terracotta up the top here, I can't help but feel like I need to have something that transitions a little bit better between the diamond blocks and the light blue concrete. So I'm actually going to change our light blue glazed terracotta into light blue wool. Ooh, it's all smooth now. I worry it does remove some of the glazed terracotta, but I'm going to be adding that back into the floor later. That's going to be the main thing I'm doing to decorate the floors, using the glazed terracotta, and I'll still use those two colors for the glazed terracotta. I just feel like that top section was a little bit too busy. Though it almost looked like the wave splash or something like that, which is kind of what I wanted, but for just the ceiling up there, I think this will be better. Actually, before I start doing stairs going along here, I think I really want to finish up this area over here. I know I've been waffling for a while about what I wanted to do with it, but I think I'm just going to stick with Gothic architecture. We have two main big vaults that we're going to be doing here. I want them to be, I'm going to try to make them a fan vault at the top. I'm doing the ring because that's where the fan vault is actually going to be. But I'm trying to decide on what shape I want the arch to be. I'm kind of thinking of doing a bit of an OG shape, just because I think that would be cool. Now, something that I'm worried about is I'm worried that the moment I put a roof on top of this, it's going to quickly become dark. And I want this to be a bright build, so I'm kind of thinking of basically making the outlines of the fan vault, and then instead of filling it in, well, I'd still fill it in, but fill it in with glass, maybe. And we'll see how much I like that. There we go. That's a pretty shape. I like that. If you can't tell already, I am going for full-on fairy tale princess castle with this build here. I know it's supposed to be, you know, temple to Poseidon and Cleito, but, like, imagine, you know, a god finds a mortal woman and then builds her a palace. Whew! There's your romance novel. You know, I don't think I've ever started on the 45-degree angle to make a circle before. It's kind of, it's just the same thing, but backwards, I guess. It's thrown me for a little bit of a loop here. There, good enough. I made a circle tutorial and everything, right? I know what I'm doing, right? Yeah, it's just gonna be a little fan vault, but I think that'll be fine. I suppose the other option I could do, since that kind of looks like a mess, and it would look even more like a mess if I just tried to make that entirely out of glass, what I could do is have more of the blue going up here, and then this is going to make, you know, the four-pointed star shape in the middle. What I could do is take that four-pointed star and make that out of glass. That might be a better option, just so that way you can actually see the details on this build here. Because right now, as it's just a skeleton, it's a bit messy, not gonna lie. And here's the problem with having this all filled in. It looks great, but then you come down here and it's darkness. So we're gonna have to poke some holes, probably at the very base of this. There we go, that's a bit better. The skulk actually hides it pretty well, I think, so nice. For those of you who are curious on an up-close look, it's actually this blue stained glass with the skulk vein on the underneath and a black carpet on the top. So now it's just a matter of copying that and pasting it on all of these pillars, and I think we have a decent enough vault here. I do worry it's a little bit busy and bulbous looking, but it's definitely very different, and in that aspect I kind of like it. I definitely like the gradient in it, but I don't know. It's weird, and I will be the first to admit that it's kind of weird. It's a very quirky build, and I kind of like it because it's quirky. I'm also wondering, should I change the ribs in there to be sandstone instead of it just being pure white? And I'm kind of thinking the answer is yes, because then it pulls more of this color up into those vaults. Just adds a bit more pizzazz, so I have to go back and change that. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to wrap it up there. As much as I'd love to just, you know, be like, bam, here's a build in one episode, I don't think it's going to happen, especially not with something this size. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like the Atlantis theme? I will continue building this, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye!